what's up? It's your boy DJL7. As you know, I have my online activist interview series, and oh my goodness, I'm super excited. I met this lady right here. She's super cool, got a lot going on. We're gonna find out. I'm gonna let her introduce herself, though. Go ahead.
Hey guys, I am super excited to be joining in on this podcast. This is my first time using Discord, so if I have any technical difficulties, I'm sure you guys are gonna let me know. But my name is Tara Szczepański, and I have the YouTube channel Polish American Brotherhood. Now, the name of the channel may be a little bit deceiving. It's actually about the history between Poland and America, being brothers at arms, being having that revolutionary spirit between actually what originated between George Washington and Tadeusz Kościuszko. So I pivoted my channel from history to history in the making and then started covering rallies, protests, sometimes riots, and just having those street conversations with everybody across the spectrum to find out what perspectives that they have because I'm trying to piece it together and trying to piece it together for the rest of the world. You guys can make your decision and own, perspective of what's going on. But it's only by putting those various perspectives together are we going to get a full picture, and that's what my goal is.
Cool. Hey, that's really wow. There's just so much to digest there. I've actually been talking to her before the show started, and there's really a depth there that it's gonna take us some time to really delve into. So, the thing is that my channel really focuses mostly on activism. So let's talk about how did you get started in this whole activism thing or starting to make a difference or whatever, right? You said about this channel, I guess. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my channel actually began with telling the history of Poland and America, and then with everything that was going on in the divisiveness in our society, when I started studying the media, I have a background in communications for a master's and an undergraduate in political science. Now, that's not the background I was working in when I was living in New York for about like 10 years, but it is now the field that I find myself most passionate about because of the communication and talking to people. So my level of activism, people call me an activist. I'm not sure if I would categorize myself as that. I'm more of a communicator, and I like to give platform to various voices, and I like to have those communications really at the ground level because they're so different than what you see really on mainstream media. And so with that, I think its main thing is like I'm a person who engages in communication.
Okay. Well, I do have certain things that I'd like to achieve, and one of the things that, whether we, as neutral as we may try to be in a situation, we have certain things that color our experiences and give us actually valuable perspectives sometimes. And one thing that I remember that you've said is that your father is actually a refugee from communism,
Hmm.
and that was actually
Yes.
interesting. So, is that actually special in any way? Because it seems like you're kind of like not really talking about as much about it now. Maybe it's the central part is with the history. Is that really the focus, and that just comes in as a side point, or is that like also kind of important with, especially considering today's narrative?
Actually a central point to it because it is what gives me the inspiration because my father's blood runs through me. I am Polish and I am also Filipino, but the special history that comes through my father is being a communist refugee coming into America. And as I've been studying more history and studying more what is going on in our society, I realize how much history is going to end up repeating herself. I was raised to love America, and with that, part of what makes America so special is the concept of an American dream. That it doesn't matter what station you're born into life, but with hard work, perseverance, and a plan, you can rise above that station and then therefore provide a life better for your children that you didn't have yourself. And so actually when my father first came to America, he saw a picture of America and his this is like lowered expectations. He sees that America has food and he's like, I want to go there because they have food. And then so that doesn't so in a sense like the life that me and my brothers have had here, if I have a roof over my head and food on the table, that's tiers above what my father had as a living in communist Poland. That was it was Soviet occupied, and he came in the 80s, and that's something that I never want anyone here in America to be experiencing. So as I've been going to rallies and talking to people, and then also just experiencing uh, suppression of different perspectives and censorship with running my channel on YouTube, I can see how communism really is coming into play in our daily lives, and I will do everything that's within my power, whether great or small, to make sure that we hold true to what the American dream is, so that way everybody can have that opportunity.
Okay. At first glance, if I was, trying to define, or trying to tell someone about your politics, I think I personally wouldn't say right wing, but I could see a lot of other people saying the word right wing. Would you say that's a somewhat
Mhm.
accurate statement?
My politics, in a sense, are people would describe me as right wing. I have conservative values for sure. I'm a registered Democrat, actually, and I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, voted in the Florida primaries for Sanders. And the what I always say in explaining my politics, it's not that my values had changed. They've always remained the same, but my understanding of the world is what has changed. And the way I see the world is what has changed. Largely, like I was disconnected from American politics for the last several years because after I quit my corporate job in New York, I took off backpacking. And I've traveled now to over 57 countries and have talked to people from all around the world and experienced living abroad as well. And so with that, I was very disconnected from American politics. And so when I was looking at what was happening in our world with the pandemic life, and also the riots of the past year, I feel like I had a very just neutral beginning
Sure.
for looking at things. And so when I just started expressing myself in simple ways online, I was met with such like vitriol and hatred really from
Right.
people who were supposed to be like my own cohorts and my own friends. And this to me was like very confusing because I'm like, since when in America can we not express ourselves? I was never in this position where I hated a person for the opinion that they had, but I certainly found myself in a position where people were hating me for the opinions I was espousing. And that's when I had, I guess, learned that about like this liberal narrative, and that when you step outside of the words that everybody else is chanting, it's they go for your throat.
Yes. Now the thing is that a lot of people might classify you as right wing, but I see you as a very strong proponent for a lot of the issues that I strongly believe in, such as Assange, fighting oppression, fighting against censorship, stuff like that. And I think that these are actually more critical tasks and fights at the moment, and I see you as a very strong ally for the future. How many other people do you see as ready to have this conversation with people like yourself?
Mm, It's difficult because, like, when I go out to rallies and protests, I attend protests that I might not necessarily agree with the with what's being said, but with that, I will always fight for your right to say it. For me, that's a learning experience. I feel that some people that wouldn't want to be having those conversations with me if I come from a different end, because I like for some I would assume the conditioning that we have is it's we're meeting differences with anger as opposed to in a desire to understand. And I think until we are able to have a healthy perspective
Yeah.
with just basic communication, it's going to be very difficult to have to be having those conversations because it in a civil society you're supposed to be able to have conversations and the truth rises to the top. But what I'm far too often seeing is it's about taking the voice away from the opposite end and then declaring yourself the winner. So I think we're going to have a basics and civics or civil discussion in order to be able to have even those conversations. And that's the part that's really unfortunate.
We'll see how it. Yeah, there's different aspects of the game, but I feel what you're saying, and I'm all about right trying to really push those coalitions. Been talking with the Green Party, Libertarians, and yourself. I'm just so excited to make this reach out here. Yeah. So that okay. So as in terms of activism stuff like that. And the reason why I really try to talk about activism so much is because yes, I understand that you might be a communicator. I understand that maybe you're just here to capture the situation, but the fact of the matter is that we're at a critical time. And, people need to step up, and that's just it. I mean, we're either going to stand or we're going to fall. Things are really reaching a breaking point, and it's so ridiculous that this insider trading is out. I'm outraged, and I'm just out there going to do it. And you could tell, right? Yeah, you've seen some of my stuff, right? So it's going to get done one way or the
Well,
other.
you definitely, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard that before, and it's definitely true. I've seen that from a bunch of people, and a lot of people ready to sell out. Yeah. Now, I'm sure that a lot of people told you, like, the things that you said might have like blowback on your career, stuff like that, right? What gave you the courage to stand up and say it regardless?
At the end of the day, you're the one who has to live by yourself, with yourself. And if you're willing to sell out, what kind of future are you going to be paving for your kids in the next generation? So I get that we all have something to protect, but at the end of the day, if you'll end up with nothing if you don't stand up, if you don't speak out, like what I see going on in our everyday lives, especially when it comes to censorships and attacks on our basic like constitutional rights that make us American. Like I believe that the founding fathers were truly brilliant when they orchestrated our Constitution, and it was the first of the world. Poland was the second constitution of the world, the first one in Europe. And so that's what brings about the uniqueness is the American rights. Our First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to peacefully assemble. Um, as I've traveled around the world, and also like now witnessing on the news when you have the government basically like killing protesters almost on a daily basis, from what we're seeing in Myanmar to what we're seeing in Colombia now. We don't want that here in America. We don't want what's going on in Canada, the lockdowns to the extent that you can be arrested for your leaving your home. Though you need to protect your rights, you need to support your rights, and that's why we need to be vocal about that. Like even when we met yesterday at the Freedom Rally, like it was beautiful to know that this rally was occurring in over 180 cities around the world, because that's something that we all can be united with regardless. We saw BLM there, we saw different possible anarchy groups that were also present, but we all can unite behind protecting our right to protest, protecting our rights to make decisions for ourselves. And those are some of the common ground issues that people can go behind despite whatever ideology we may have, whether it be left wing or right wing
I would say
or
that
anything that's between.
providing like this level of knowledge, right, and detail, which keeps people interested and is convincing, is actually a core role of the activist. So I would say you definitely is
Mhm.
an activist. Um, and let's say that it seems like you have this vision and this goal, which is cool, which we really need to push yourself forward. Otherwise, you're going to be about the money. So I appreciate the fact that you have vision, this integrity, which I think is fucking awesome. By the way, I'm a huge fan already. Okay, let's be real. Anyways, yeah. So when you are headed down this pathway and you are trying to have this vision, this goal, as you have like talked to people and tried to convince them, and the way you've just done to myself, you've probably like adapted your strategy and things have gone on, right? Yeah. How has your perspective
Mhm.
changed from when you started? Right, other people might be learning to try to be activists themselves. They are inspired by what you do and they want to start doing that themselves, right? How has your perspective changed? How can you help them make that adjustment to where you are now?
I would say that the number one strategy I would apply is when I'm talking to somebody who has a different perspective than me, I start off with listening to them more as opposed to me trying to convince them first. And so when I'm understanding the perspective that they're coming from, that's when I can cater the arguments that I've been making there. And I look for first establishing like a bond of commonality before going right at the differences, because I think when we were raised as children, we didn't we learned to be friends first before we started out with the differences that we have like in our homes or cultures or in our lives. And at least for me, so in my background, I was the president of the Asian Student Association in my college, and then I also founded the Asian Pacific American Coalition. So I was very uh, into cultural diversity groups and leadership conferences there back in my yesteryears in college. And with that, it was um whenever going to different events, I try to first like listen to them. And so I have my YouTube channel and I stream live at a lot of events, and with that I'm very vocal about my views. I have very conservative values and I'm very vocal about that on my channel. And so those who were aware of my channel prior to going to say a BLM rally think that I'm automatically against them, and from one perspective, yes, I believe that BLM is a domestic terrorist organization, 100%. But this is an opportunity for them to be also changing my mind to that regard. And then also, since my
Mm,
base of followers and subscribers would also be of conservative views and values, like when I turn on my camera and I'm streaming from those events, I always tell my viewers, like, hey, listen to the speeches, and we can also understand where these ideas are coming from, because we can't keep going with the divisiveness that we still have in present day. And then
mm,
so when I go and interview people on the ground level
okay.
who are with BLM or who are with Antifa, I try to encourage, like, I've had some progress with having people from BLM talk to me and on camera to my viewers, but I always try to encourage them by saying, this is an opportunity for you to be talking to people who would otherwise not be listening to you.
Okay. So just so you
So
know, just for my
that's
viewers,
all.
I
Mhm.
I do not agree with all these points, but I'm not going to push back here because you'll have to catch that on the second interview. It's going to happen, yeah. All right, but the thing is that, right, that's
Absolutely.
fine. Yeah, there's going to be a second interview, but I'm still a big fan, and I think that she still has reason for points. I think that some of them are, we're going to talk about that later once again, so stay tuned, all right? I'm actually asking her right now if she would do a regular series with me or maybe a mini series, maybe we could do a series because honestly, I'm really a big fan of what I see going on here, even though, what do you think are the most effective things that activists can do? Right? What have you seen as, like, wow, look at that?
The most effective things that activists can do. I mean, when you put together panels of discussions, I think eh, that is going to be effective, because you want to, if you put together people of different perspectives into the same room and have them, deck it out for the best idea to then rise from the top, and then also for viewers to have like the difference in perspective. So because you don't want to have an echo chamber. And I think with activism, if we can't just surround ourselves with people of, it's nice to find people of like-minded personalities and ideas, by
Yeah.
all means. But I feel like I grow the most when I'm in an environment when I'm not surrounded by people who have the same ideas, because I need them to challenge me in the way I think so I can then grow and adapt to whatever circumstances I'm going to be at, so I can become more of an effective activist. So I think by surrounding ourselves by people who do have different perspectives, and trying to engage that they listen to you, but also take an active listening perspective, I think that's how we can be more effective as activists.
You though, what's up, girl? You know what I mean? What's up? What's up? Yeah? What you doing tomorrow?
How you doing?
What you doing tomorrow? What you doing? Yeah, we got the whole city running around. Yeah? Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Weather's
seem
great now
adventurous.
too in May.
Yeah, and if
Oh,
you get,
I am. I
yeah?
am. Before we were talking, I remember I sent you the pic. I haven't gone out to any of the Palestinian protests because I was doing a lot of stuff in the studio for Live One last week with doing my political interviews with interviewing candidates who are running for office both in New Jersey and in New York, and we're focusing now on the mayor race. But the Palestinian interviews, the Palestinian protests are definitely intensifying. And I think I've been to Palestine. I've been to Israel. I spent a month there in that part of the Middle East in 2019. And I saw the encampment zones. I saw the wall, that the separation wall. And honestly, this is one of the places I was thinking, because my mind goes straight to looking for answers, and I drew a blank. I'm like, there really is no solution in my head when I was looking at them. Like, how can you, like, there really isn't a solution to this land when you have people who are occupying the same space who are not being able to like live together in it. And actually that's why I became such a fan of President Trump, was when he brokered the Abraham Accords and he found a way to negotiate peace with first the Abraham Accords, with normalizing relations between the UAE and then for Israel. And I think if it- like I want to attend more of the Palestinian protests, both the pro-Palestinian ones and the pro-Israel ones, so we can talk to find out more in the story, because I'm not from that area. I didn't study it in school, so there's a lot more I need to learn before I can really elicit an opinion to it. But I think for the next couple of weeks, I'd like to like focus on what's going on there and then have more of those ground level conversations. So that's what's up. If you want to go with me to any of those protests, like I think that would be a lot of fun.
I'm down. Yeah, we also have a coalition series with the Libertarians, Greens. You know what I mean? And I think that it would be a wonderful addition to that. You know, on the Republican side of things, we need a major party presence at these events. So wow, I, this summer's gonna be hot. That's what I'm talking about. Oh my god, yeah, I can't wait. Anyways, yeah. So all right, check it out. Boom. So let's take a look at as in terms of like different people like might be inspired by different activists that they read about or learned about, right? Like for me, Malcolm X, and right, there's not a lot of Asian American activists that you can really look at as in terms of really defining things, and that's, you know, just what our fucking reality. Oh well, you know what I mean? But Martin Luther King and Malcolm X laid a
I,
great blueprint for me. As in terms of yourself, is there anybody that has really like maybe a thing that you follow, or activists, or maybe a blueprint, a model for the way that you organize or do your thing? Maybe even just business mind or anything. Like I like, from management perspective, I like Jack Welch. I know it's gonna be real controversial, but I don't know if you've heard of him. Yeah, Jack Welch. No.
No,
Okay.
in terms of like who I follow in terms of influencers in present day, I follow Tim Cast, Tim Pool, Tim Cast, and then Louder with Crowder, Liberty Hangout. Those are some of the YouTube channels I follow online. Um, and it, like I do need to, I guess because being a prior Democrat, I'm a walk away. Um, in terms of like pop culture, it would be like Trevor Noah. And now every time I watch him, I just feel so sad because I used to find everything he said so funny, and I'm like, now that
Yeah, I
I
never
see the
did, but I
other
get it. I
perspective,
get
I'm
it.
like
Yeah,
it's not that funny to me
it's
anymore.
not. Yeah. Oh, Colbert's the saddest one. Colbert. Oh,
I actually
such a.
went to a filming of the Colbert Report. I went to a
He was
filming of
good
the
back in the
Colbert
day.
Report, and
He was
it
fucking
was
good
good
back in the
back in
day.
the day. He was good back in the
What a
day.
fall. What a
In
fall.
in terms of I guess Asian leaders being Filipino, actually, I'm a big fan of President Duterte, the president of the
Okay.
Philippines. Now, to from an American perspective, Americans who are not familiar with how corrupt the Filipino government
Ooh,
is may not
crazy.
be in favor as to how they might see him as a dictator of some sorts. But he is a man who was truly of the people. He's actually from my mother's home city, Davao City, and before he became president, when he was even just the mayor of Davao, he would drive the taxi around Davao to then engage and talk to people. But he cleaned up Davao City, which is located in the island of Mindanao. And so I had been going to the island of Mindanao since I was a child, unaware that this is actually a hotspot for terrorism. And it's been constantly on the do not fly zone for Americans. For me, this is just where my family is from, and I've been going there every single year. I had no idea about that until actually I started backpacking through Mindanao. And the he made Davao City to be one of the safest cities in the entire Philippines. And he's put some very strict policies, basically like if you are a part of the drug um if you're a drug pusher there, you don't get a trial. You're just he'll take you out. And but the so from American standpoint, they'll be like, oh well, you can't just do that, it's a violation of rights. It works differently there. And if he didn't put those harsh things in place, then drugs would continuously be a very difficult problem in the Philippines. It would also like international like loan sharking, that is another issue that people have,
No.
and
One
and
thing
they're
that I,
never able to
yeah.
go out of debt there. And
One thing
so
that I,
I'm actually a
one thing
big
I,
fan of
yeah.
how he had implemented those things in the Philippines.
One thing that I fucking love about your approach, right? Yeah. By the way, I'm sure
Hmm.
that in just about 5 minutes, right? Not even 5 minutes, someone's ready to hit the comments board because they watch 2 hours, maybe total, in their whole entire lives on this subject on mainstream TV. You know what I mean? They heard a little clip here,
Hmm.
heard a little clip there. Somehow the sum of that is equal to your experience, and they're just as informed and ready to tell you how you're wrong. You know what I mean? Well, they somehow those little hours right there was worth your whole life experience. So let them tell you how to do it. You know what I mean? And you went to the West Bank, and that's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? So I like the fact that you're actually going into those spaces and being real about it. You know
I
what I
had
mean?
gone I
Yeah,
had gone to visit the Jordan River and also to Jericho
yeah.
and Bethlehem. So because and it's interesting because I had only known of Palestine from what we would hear on the news, and to actually visit these areas myself, it's it is it's like history in the making, but it's not history because it's right in front of you. And I do believe like it's good that we have the movement that's going on right now with Free Palestine. I'm pro Israel. I think that America needs to continue in its support of Israel because we can't take ourselves out of the table because when I first saw what was going on in Palestine, my first thought was like, how can America continuously like support Israel with what it's doing to Palestinians? But then after Trump had brokered the Abraham Accord, I realized if we remove ourselves from the conversation, we'll never be able to hold people accountable. And so that's why we need to stick in with those tough alliances because we need to be able to have a place in a seat at the table. And so this is I feel like now we're going to be approaching a very controversial like head first.
Mm. Hold up, you just froze up. Yeah, hold up a second. You was talking about yeah.
So
I'm sorry. Just repeat the last couple lines.
I think that we're approaching a very probably the most pinnacle controversial spot in the entire world that if we can have achieve peace in this area, we'll be able to like triculate that to the rest of the world. So it's been dragged on way too long since after World War II. Um, the I do think that the protests that now that we're having with Free Palestine, that's happening here in New York City and in LA from what I saw earlier, like there needs to be more attention being put onto what's going on in the Middle East. I don't have the solution for that. It is a very complicated issue. I don't have the solution, but I think more people need to start having those conversations because people there, it's just been dragging on both on the Israeli side. People in Israel, they have the right to defend themselves 100%. And the people who are living basically in limbo on the Palestinian side, they need a solution and an answer.
Yo, I'm gonna have a panel discussion on this topic real soon. Ooh, it's so exciting. Yeah, it's so exciting. So excited. I can't tell you. Yeah, you're from New York City. You're around New York City area
Well,
too. There's very
we
few actors
definitely
around
need to
here.
go out to them.
Oh damn.
We definitely need to hit
I'm
up
going out with
some
you
of those
first, though.
protests
I'm
so we
going
can
out
talk
with
to
you
people.
first. That's my priority. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Anyways, so boom. All right. So what do you? Right now, the situation is crazy. Just everything. You know, I mean, what's your take on the current situation, just overall?
So prior to coming to New York in this trip, I was in Portland for May Day, which is an Antifa like fun day for them. And then before that, I was in Minneapolis for the Chauvin verdict. And so I do travel quite often to the hot spots of America to see for myself and provide that on the ground footage to my viewers as opposed to information that we're getting off of MSN because you can't trust the information that you're getting off of CNN or you're getting off of Fox. They all have their own agenda. Um, so it's basically I'm a truth finder. And the number one thing that comes to fruition for everything I'm seeing really is the divisiveness that I'm a Trump supporter, I'm a conservative. A lot of conservatives fear that if they wear a Trump hat in a Democratic city, they're going to be attacked. And that's the number one thing that I would like to address that everybody has the right to their opinion, has the right to their voice. Nobody ever has the right to physically assault a person for those opinions and for those beliefs. And so that would be like my take on what's going on is that we need to stop with the attacks of people who have different opinions and beliefs uh and of different there's such a race war that's going on, and I think that's the number one thing that's really pushed in front of all of our faces is the race war that's going on. And I think we need to question what the agenda is behind that. Like, why do they want us to be separated? Like, who's gaining power from us being so divisive?
Have you seen that movie Seagu?
No, I'm not familiar.
It's a you took some Asian American studies classes probably in school and stuff. It sounds like you were all into that type of thing.
uh a couple, yeah.
Cool. Okay.
But I was also in college a really long time ago too, so
Yeah. Was that in the 90s?
not that long ago.
Yeah, it was
For college now.
it was the 90s for me. Yeah. I'll just date myself. But the thing is that really that term Asian American came out when I was in college, but I never agreed with that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Let's suppose that we're watching a science fiction movie and you got a black guy and a white guy and an Asian guy. There's no Asian that, you know what I mean? It's just the dumbest term ever. You know what I mean? Some academics thought
Hmm.
it was cool, and then I never signed up for that shit. You know what I mean? Whatever. I'm not gonna push back on some of the things that we talked about earlier. This is all about finding out about you. You know what I mean? So that other type of stuff, it'll come up later. You know what I mean? But I'm just celebrating. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's hard to find people on the ground willing to do the work. There's too many armchair activists out here. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, anyways, let's
Hmm.
okay. So yeah, so we're taking a look at the situation, right? What's your current read on the situation right now?
My current read on the situation would be, I've been traveling a lot this past year from DC to Arizona to Georgia. This past week, or no, this past week, before coming to New York in this trip, I was in Portland for May Day, which is an Antifa like heyday, basically. Uh, it's a it's a workers' day, and that's why it's called May Day. But Antifa tends to have a lot of fun with breaking windows that in federal buildings that evening on May 1st. So I was in Portland before that, and then before that I was in Minneapolis for the Chauvin verdict. And so I've been going to all these places, talking to as many people as I can. The hot spots
Oh my God, you got frozen again. Oh my
on
God,
the
this is
what
killing
is
me.
the truth.
I'm so sorry. Uh,
No
I,
problem.
I'll try to move to Google Meet after this, but I mean, I think we're almost at the end, yeah. But I'm so sorry about that, yeah. Okay, can you just say the answer one more time?
Problem. I have tech issues all the time.
Okay, thank you. I think it's my internet connection. I have to check that out. Yeah, I bought a connection, but also I have some other. You know, the computer likes to take control, fucking Windows 10, and it likes to fucking download updates and shit. You know what I mean? And then I have like I just like Call
Yeah.
of Duty has these shaders that are fucking uploading. I think I turned it off, but I bet you it's still fucking downloading them shits anyways. You know what I'm talking about. And Windows 10 is always trying to download
I've
shit.
had the same
Yeah,
issues.
force update restart. You know what I mean? Oh my god. Oh, I'm in a meeting. Fuck you.
Oh,
I'm
it
restarting.
it's happened to me while I was live before too. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but that's why it's easier actually to have a co-host. So like when one person goes down, the other person's able to continue on. So that's what I found to work best with my shows.
Yeah.
Okay. So the read I have on the situation, I've been traveling all across the US for the past year to understand what is going on because America seems to be going absolutely nuts. So before being in New York right now, I was in Minneapolis during the Chauvin verdict. I was in Portland during May Day, which is when Antifa likes to go crazy as well. And just trying to talk to locals as much as I can to understand what was happening on the ground level versus what I see being reported on mainstream media. And I think the in terms of the read of the situation, I think the number one thing that constantly comes up is the race war that America is now engaging in and the division that's caused because of it. I think back to when I was in college, and that was really the only time I felt racism in my life was when I was in college. It wasn't before college and it wasn't afterwards. And that's probably because, in my opinion, and people may differ in this, but victimhood is a state of mind. Nobody can make you the victim unless you decide, yes, I am the victim in this circumstance. So I just have a different view that everything is just a challenge in my life. People are going to try and put me down, but it's up to us to own our own reactions to those situations and to rise above the situation and to not make the decision that this is not going to be what pulls us down. So that is my biggest concern that I have in America now is this racial division. And it makes me question like who's benefiting from keeping society separated. And so those are the type of questions that we need to be having to find out what's really going on behind the scenes. Who stays in power from us, we the people being divided?
Wouldn't it be wouldn't it be the corporate interests that are like, you know, actually, unfortunately, we're also players in the
Politicians.
game because we also own right stocks and stuff. So we are not 100% out of that. Oh, you're frozen for a second, but that was a good thing. Yeah, the politicians. Look, that was a good answer. Yeah, they got the insider trading. They so dirty. You're frozen. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you froze a little bit
Okay,
too.
that's cool. All right, now you're good now. Okay, so, hey, look, I think you're one of the most awesome guests, and I can tell, like, either way, right, whether I agree with you or not, right, yeah, many of the essential things I do, that you're going to be on the ground making a difference. So we're going to be working together regardless, right, yeah? We're going to be in the same spaces. So, um, and I'm a fucking fan, yeah? Let's share your social media, right? People that are watching me, how can they find out more about you?
Find me on YouTube mainly, and that's Polish American Brotherhood. And also across all social media sites, my handle is POAM, POAM, Brotherhood, exactly how Brotherhood is spelt. And you'll find me on Instagram, Twitter, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, basically all social media, POAM Brotherhood.
Cool, all right. And now on Discord, right? We'll see, yeah?
And now on
And
Discord.
now on Discord,
Yes.
yeah. Hey, cool, awesome. So let's see. Hey, what's your plans for the future? You got anything cool coming up? Any cool projects that people gotta look forward to? What's up?
Yeah, actually, so I'm working with a studio based in Astoria, Live One TV, and so we are reaching out to political candidates, and we've had a series of interviews for those who are going for office. And I think what's fantastic is a lot of young people who looking to really push against the grain and get some of those rhinos in the Republican side like out. Because we need to have those fresh voices that are in office who are actually grounded with what's going on in our community, in our society, and not these career politicians that are running the show. They need to be out. So I'm super excited to be working with Live One TV to be interviewing a lot of fresh new faces coming into office.
Yeah, actually, I'm on a very similar path. I don't know if you've seen any material, but I wanna link up with you because there's hundreds, and we're going beyond the mayor, but to the city council candidates and planning to project that into the 22 races. And I want you by my side for real. Yeah, I'm down for that. Yeah.
And that's the important part with the city council. Like, it's local office actually that is going to make the most difference in our daily lives. Everybody's so focused on the presidential election, but that's one office. Granted, a very important
And
one,
it's a
but
long-term
that's
plan,
one office.
right? We'll bounce them from one position
Exactly.
to another in a long-term vision goal plan of coordination. Yo, you know what? It's fucking embarrassing. 1%'s kicking 99% asses. We fucking deserve this shit. If we can get beat by 1%, we do fucking deserve to fucking eat shit. Fuck that, no more. We coming together, and I ain't taking no shit. We're coming together. That's the end. It's end game. Bam. I ain't taking nothing else. Yeah. So, thank you
But
so much. Yeah. So that's pretty much the end of this interview. Once again, oh,
you.
you guys know you want to challenge her. You know you want to challenge me. Yeah, so go ahead. Watch the next interviews coming up. Yeah. Make sure you subscribe and all that shit. Yeah, you better if you didn't fucking subscribe to Polish American Brotherhood, then honestly, I don't know if that next interview is gonna happen. So we're gonna see though. Okay, let me hear about it. All right, let me know. All right. All right. What's up? All right. So I'm hit stop. Cool. All right. Thank you.
It's a dark day in our nation when high-level authorities will seek to use every method to silence dissent. The truth must be told.
And if you want the truth, you need to check out independent media producers just like myself, DJ L7. You should subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications when I release a new video.
The truth of these
We are
words
on all
is
the major
beyond
platforms.
doubt.
That includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Unfortunately, we have definitely seen that these mainstream outlets will cave to corporate interests, so we encourage you to join our independently moderated communities of Reddit and Discord. We also encourage you to subscribe to us on BitChute and Daily Motion so you can see the content that YouTube doesn't want us to let you see. Hey, now it's time for the most important part of the video. That's right. It's time for us to tell you about the Taking Action Group. Do you need an activist? Or maybe there's no activists around willing to help you with your cause and you need to learn to become an activist. That's exactly why we're here. Every week we get up with people from across the nation, in fact even sometimes internationally, and we develop strategies and a game plan to address the issues that are affecting all of us. Every week myself from New York City and of course my co-host Lisa from Los Angeles provide a coast-to-coast perspective on what's going on in the country. If you want to donate to help out with expenses, travel, equipment, stuff like that, then I definitely appreciate it, and you could hit us off at Venmo or PayPal. Thanks a lot. Hey, by the way, we also have a merch store, so check it out. Oh my goodness, it seems like you've reached the end of the video, so make sure you check out some of our other videos, make sure you subscribe. This is your last chance to do so thanks a lot. and looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment below if you have any questions or issues you'd like me to address. And if you're an activist, the time to make things happen is now.